At my sister-in-law's wedding, there was no seat for me, she said. Lowborn blood doesn't sit with us. So I made sure she'd never forget that day. The wedding of my sister-in-law Victoria was held in the rolling hills of Virginia. At the venue, I discovered that mine was the only seat that hadn't been prepared. Ryan, my husband, smirked and said, "Oops, looks like we miscounted the seats." The whole family chuckled coldly. My chest tightened, but I responded calmly. "I see. I understand everything now." Then I turned and walked out of the venue. Ryan's cruel smile haunted me. Humiliation surged through my body, but I didn't cry. Instead, a strange calm settled over me. I took out my phone and opened an app. Let's see how long it takes before they realize what I've done. My name is Lauren Mitchell. 20 years ago, I was just a small-town girl from Nebraska, raised by a single mother who worked double shifts at the local diner. I earned a full scholarship to Northwestern University and graduated from their prestigious hospitality management program. Then I built my reputation in Chicago as a top-tier event planner. From lavish corporate galas to celebrity weddings at the Palmer House, I became the go-to planner for the Midwest elite, known for my flawless execution and creative vision. When I was 28, the Whitmore family took notice. It was during Senator Hamilton's anniversary celebration, an event I had orchestrated at the Four Seasons. That's where Ryan Whitmore first saw me in action, watching this determined young woman coordinate a seamless evening. "Were you the one who planned this incredible event?" he asked me afterward. "I heard it was the work of a very talented woman." That encounter led to dating, and eventually I became deeply involved with the Whitmore family, an old money dynasty from Virginia known for their investment banking empire and political connections. They wielded tremendous influence across the East Coast. A year into our relationship, Ryan proposed with his grandmother's 5-carat diamond ring. As I began attending social events with the Whitmores, I noticed a shift. Catherine, Ryan's mother, would introduce me to her friends by saying, "Lauren's a sweet, hard-working girl. Though of course, you can tell she's not from our world." She'd make subtle digs about my humble origins at every opportunity. I started feeling uneasy about how the family viewed me. But I ignored the warning signs, desperate for the family I'd never had, because Ryan seemed different from his sister and mother, more genuine, less obsessed with bloodlines. To a girl who came from nothing, the idea of being loved and accepted into such a prestigious family felt like a fairy tale. But after our wedding at the exclusive Jefferson Hotel, my place in the family became crystal clear. No matter how successful my events became, no matter how many Fortune 500 clients I secured, the Whitmores always questioned my methods, dismissed my opinions, and took credit for my achievements. During family gatherings, my ideas were heard but never truly valued. My success was attributed to luck and hard work, never talent or intelligence. At first, Ryan was sympathetic toward his mother's behavior. But over time, he stopped defending me. All he would say was, "It's just how Mom is. Don't let it get to you." But I did let it get to me, and things only deteriorated. Then there was Victoria, Ryan's younger sister by 4 years. The epitome of a spoiled Southern belle, raised with unconditional privilege. Victoria always acted sweet toward me, but there was calculated coldness behind her charm. She never truly accepted me as family either. Last year when Victoria announced her engagement to Preston Blackwood III, Catherine immediately approached me. "Lauren, you'll plan Victoria's wedding, won't you? Your family, it's only natural." It wasn't a request. It was a command. There was no respect for my professional rates, just the expectation that I would work for free, like hired help. Planning Victoria's wedding should have been an honor. It was to be a grand 3-day celebration representing the family's social standing. I poured everything into it, leveraging my network in the hospitality industry, pulling strings to create a flawless experience. But during preparations, I uncovered disturbing truths about the Whitmore family's finances, late payments to vendors, desperate calls from suppliers asking for overdue deposits. When I brought this up to Ryan, he told me the family's accountant was just being cautious with the wedding budget. But I had seen the financial documents open on his laptop. The trust fund was nearly empty. The Virginia estate had a second mortgage. The investment firm was hemorrhaging money. Still, I continued with the planning. When necessary, I used funds from my own company to cover deposits and secure vendors. Then, on the morning we were leaving for Virginia, a message popped up on Ryan's phone while he was in the shower. Normally, I respected his privacy, but something made me look. It was from Samantha. "Can't wait to see you this weekend. Have you told your family about us yet?" Before I realized it, I had opened Ryan's message thread with his college girlfriend, Samantha Pierce. It went back months, details of their secret relationship, discussions of their future together, and Samantha's pregnancy, 5 months along. They'd been seeing each other for 8 months. I took screenshots, sent them to myself, and deleted all traces. Then I packed my bag, put on my brightest smile, and got in the car with the Whitmore family, pretending I knew nothing. As the autumn sun cast golden light over Virginia's countryside, we arrived at the wedding venue, Montpelier, a historic estate I had personally selected. I had arranged every detail of the weekend festivities, from Ryan's college fraternity brothers to Catherine's garden club friends to Victoria's sorority sisters and close family acquaintances. But as soon as we stepped out of the car, Catherine turned to me sharply. "I specifically gave instructions for the seating chart, Lauren. Why does this look so different?" I swallowed my frustration. "I arranged it based on the guest list to optimize flow and photo opportunities," I explained, but she wasn't listening. She was already whispering to Ryan, a secretive conversation that, as always, excluded me. My guest suite was luxurious, overlooking the estate's gardens, filled with fresh magnolias from Catherine's greenhouse, and stocked with bottles of the family's favorite Bordeaux. But the moment we entered, Ryan's phone rang. He stepped out onto the veranda to whisper into it. The rehearsal dinner, held in the estate's grand ballroom that I had personally coordinated, was the first clear sign of my exclusion. Just before the meal, the seating arrangement was mysteriously changed, and I was assigned to a table with distant cousins and family friends, far from the main family table. At the head table, they laughed over inside jokes and memories, almost all from family vacations to Martha's Vineyard and the Hamptons that I'd never been invited to. When I tried to join a conversation about the wedding details, Victoria interrupted. "Oh Lauren, by the way, we're doing a bridesmaids brunch tomorrow morning at the country club. It's just tradition, really. You'd probably find it boring. Maybe you could use that time to go over the final prep checklist? That's your area of expertise, isn't it?" That same pattern continued for 2 days. Each morning, I'd wake up to find Ryan already gone, just a hastily scribbled note saying he'd gone golfing at the Greenbrier with his father. One morning, he left in such a rush that he forgot to lock his briefcase. It was an opportunity one couldn't ignore. Inside, I found what I had feared most: divorce papers, drafted by the Whitmore family's attorney. The documents outlined proceedings dated 6 weeks ago. The proposed asset division excluded me entirely from the family's wealth. But the most damning piece was a handwritten memo detailing how to orchestrate my inappropriate behavior during Victoria's wedding to paint me as an unstable gold-digging wife. I took photos of every page with trembling hands. It was all there in black and white, a carefully staged exit of the unsuitable wife, designed to preserve their dignity while discarding me completely. Victoria's wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was my termination ceremony. Instead of confronting Ryan immediately, I channeled my fury into building an airtight case. Bank statements showing large transfers into Ryan's personal account. Emails discussing how to liquidate trust assets before the audit became public. A handwritten note from Catherine to Ryan that read, "Once the unfortunate Lauren situation is resolved, the real family can inherit properly." I was shaken, but I kept my professional mask firmly in place, supervising the wedding preparations like nothing had changed. In truth, I was quietly preparing my legal counterattack, documenting every piece of evidence on my phone. The morning of Victoria's wedding dawned clear and crisp. I rose early and slipped out of the room quietly. While reviewing the final schedule in the bridal suite, I overheard Catherine's voice through a slightly open door in the adjacent room. Her commanding tone was unmistakable. "There will be 4 family members seated, not 5, she said into her phone. "I don't care what the original plan was. This is the final seating arrangement." After a pause, she added coldly, "The daughter-in-law is not included. This is a bloodline matter. I'm sure you understand. There's no need to explain anything if she decides to leave." My blood ran cold. The pieces finally clicked into place. This wasn't neglect or a last-minute oversight. It was the heart of their strategy, a public humiliation designed to make my departure look like my own dramatic decision. I closed my tablet, gathered my documents, and returned to my room. Then I picked up my phone and launched my own plan. If the Whitmore family wanted a wedding to remember, I would make sure it was unforgettable, just not in the way they intended. I arrived at the main chapel an hour before the other guests. The Virginia countryside glowed in the late afternoon sun. I personally checked every detail, from the engraved place cards to the bride's favorite white hydrangeas. "Is everything to your satisfaction, Mrs. Whitmore?" asked Janet, the venue coordinator. "Perfect," I replied, knowing this would be the last event I ever managed for the Whitmore family. Despite everything, my professional pride refused to accept anything less than excellence. Back in my room, I changed into the navy Armani suit I had bought specifically for this day. With calm precision, I applied my makeup and looked in the mirror. They hadn't broken me. They had sharpened me into something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The Whitmore family had agreed to gather in the main salon before heading to the chapel together. When I arrived punctually, they were all waiting. "You look very professional, Lauren," Catherine said, offering a stiff handshake. "We're just waiting for the photographer." During the short walk to the chapel, the family casually discussed the meeting they'd had earlier that morning. Of course, I hadn't been invited. They talked about it openly in front of me without the slightest attempt at discretion, as if I were invisible. At the chapel doors, Ryan placed his hand on my shoulder. What once felt like affection now seemed like staged theater for the cameras. The doors opened, revealing the stunning ceremony space I had designed. Under crystal chandeliers, the venue sparkled with southern elegance. Catherine entered first to polite applause from her social circle. One by one, the guests moved to their assigned seats, each placed according to the layout I had meticulously created. I followed Ryan toward the family table. As I approached, I realized something chilling. Every seat had been filled. There was no space left for me, no reservation, no acknowledgement, no place in this family I had served so faithfully. I froze. It was the perfect picture of exclusion, orchestrated for maximum humiliation. "Is something wrong?" Catherine asked innocently, just loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "There seems to be a mistake," I replied, my voice far calmer than I felt. "There's no seat for me at the family table." The scene unfolded exactly as they had choreographed: puzzled glances, hushed whispers, Ryan stepping forward, pretending to be surprised. "That's strange," Victoria murmured, glancing at the seating chart with feigned confusion. Ryan cleared his throat. "Probably just miscommunication with the venue staff." Then came his line, delivered with calculated familiarity that sent ice through my veins. He chuckled softly. "Oops, looks like we miscounted the seats." The family nodded, not theatrically, which would have been too obvious, but with quiet consensus shared among those in on the joke. At that moment, everything crystallized. This was deliberate humiliation, staged in a public setting carefully chosen to prevent confrontation. A wedding, of all places, where making a scene would be unthinkable. My gaze slowly moved across the room, meeting each face. Catherine, triumphant beneath her refined composure. Ryan, complicit and uncomfortable. Victoria and Preston, clearly enjoying the spectacle. And the rest of the Whitmores, people who once called me family, now watching with the detached amusement of spectators observing a failed investment. I could have made a scene. I could have demanded my rightful place and exposed their plot. But that's exactly what they expected, what they were prepared for. Instead, I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and spoke words that would mark the beginning of my reclamation of power. "So that's how it is. I understand completely." Simple, devastating in its clarity. Their confident smiles faltered. Ryan's expression twisted into uncertainty. I was no longer following their script. "I'll be leaving," I added, turning away with the same composure that had once protected me throughout our marriage. "Lauren, don't be dramatic," Ryan called after me. "We can find another seat." I didn't respond. I walked calmly out of the chapel, nodding politely to the staff who had witnessed my humiliation. In my rental car, I finally exhaled. By the time I reached the main road, the trembling in my hands had stopped. A small cafe in nearby Orange served as the perfect vantage point. I ordered black coffee and took out my phone. This was the moment I had prepared for, a window of freedom while the Whitmore family celebrated what they thought was a clean, successful extraction of an unsuitable wife. First, I sent an emergency notification to Janet, the venue coordinator, along with instructions we had prearranged as a contingency plan. Attached were documents proving my authority as the lead event manager and financial overseer, along with confirmation of an immediate payment freeze. Then the reception venue, the Boar's Head Resort, the caterers from Richmond, the florist, and the photographer. One by one, I froze all transactions and cut off payments made through my company's credit accounts. With every action, I felt lighter, more powerful. Ryan's messages began rolling in, starting irritated, turning confused, and finally spiraling into desperation as he realized the scope of my retaliation. I ignored them all. 30 minutes after leaving the venue, I finished my coffee and drove back to Montpelier, entering through a service entrance. Janet greeted me with worried eyes. "Mrs. Whitmore, are you absolutely certain about this?" "I am," I said, handing her a sealed legal envelope. "This includes confirmation of the payment freeze and cancellation of my financial guarantee for today's expenses." "When should we inform them?" "In 5 minutes. I'd like to watch." She led me to a small alcove near the service entrance, a perfect vantage point to observe the Whitmore family table. They were toasting Victoria, champagne flutes raised, faces glowing with smug satisfaction. My phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. "Lauren, where are you? Stop being childish. Come back." Then another. "Mom is furious." I didn't respond. Instead, I sent a message to the Boar's Head Resort where the family was staying. My phone buzzed again. The hotel just called. They said our reservation has been cancelled. "What the hell are you doing? This isn't funny. Fix it now." I texted Janet, "Proceed." From my hidden vantage point, I watched her approach the table with 2 staff members. She bent down to speak softly to Victoria. The bride's expression changed, from joy to confusion to suspicion. She pulled out a platinum credit card, speaking urgently. Janet shook her head apologetically and showed her something on a tablet. By now, the entire room sensed something was wrong. Catherine set down her fork, her usual composure cracking. Ryan stared at his phone, likely reading my final message. "All wedding funds are frozen. All weekend arrangements have been cancelled. Your affair with Samantha and her pregnancy will soon be public. Enjoy the cake." The scene unfolded like a perfectly choreographed ballet of chaos. Ryan stood up, his face flushed with rage and shame. Catherine's hand shot up to clutch her pearl necklace as if it might somehow steady her. Victoria leaned toward Preston, whispering furiously. But Ryan remained frozen, all color drained from his face. Unlike the others, he understood the full implications of what I had done. My phone rang. It was Ryan. This time, I answered. "Lindsay," he hissed, his voice mixing anger and panic. "What the hell are you doing?" "Exactly what you planned for me," I replied coolly. "Which is why I have no obligation to uphold your little celebration. You have to fix this. Do you understand how humiliating this is for Victoria, for all of us?" "Oh, I understand perfectly, Ryan. That was the point." "Where are you?" His voice shifted, desperation creeping in. "Let me explain everything, about Samantha, about everything." "What would you like to explain? That I saw the financial statements? That I read the emails? That I know the Whitmore empire is crumbling? That you've misused company funds and gotten your ex-girlfriend pregnant?" His sharp intake of breath confirmed what I already knew. "That was confidential," he whispered. "Right. So were Samantha's messages about the pregnancy. So was the memo detailing how to stage my inappropriate behavior at Victoria's wedding. So was the seating arrangement that deliberately excluded me." Silence on the other end. Back at the venue, I could see Janet speaking quietly to the entire table. Several guests were now watching with barely concealed curiosity. The Whitmore family's disgrace had become a public spectacle, exactly what they had once planned for me. "Lauren, please," Ryan said, his voice stripped of all authority. "You don't know what this will do to us." "I know exactly what it will do. That's why I did it. We can fix this. Just come back." "No, Ryan. I don't think we can." I ended the call and stepped out of my hiding spot. It was time for my final appearance as a Whitmore. As I approached the table, all heads turned toward me. Their faces showed shock, anger, fear, and disbelief. Catherine spoke first, her voice trembling with fury. "How dare you ruin Victoria's wedding? I smiled, feeling strange, calm detachment. I learned from the best, Catherine. After all, this is exactly what you planned for me, isn't it? Public humiliation. A staged exit. The only difference is I rewrote the ending. Ryan stood up. This is outrageous. You had no right. I had every right, I cut him off. Every contract, every financial guarantee, every vendor agreement was under my name or my company's authority. All I did was enforce the terms. You'll regret this, Victoria spat. That's where you're wrong, I said, locking eyes with Ryan. I have copies of everything, the misused funds, the hidden transfers, the fraudulent investments, and the messages with Samantha confirming her pregnancy. I'm sure the SEC and your social circles will find them fascinating. Their faces drained of color as reality sank in. In that moment, I felt no victory, no vindication, only deep, profound release. As I turned my back on the Whitmore family for the last time, I walked away from Virginia and flew first class back to Chicago. Behind me, I left a family in freefall, their carefully constructed legacy collapsing in real time. Today, I'm in Napa Valley, planning a wedding for a tech billionaire couple. Overseeing a flawless ceremony at a luxury vineyard, leading my hospitality team and surrounded by genuine joy, I realized something unexpected. I was happy. Not despite being rejected by their family, but because of it. The Whitmores had tried to make me feel indebted, to cast me as a footnote in their grand legacy. But instead, they had unintentionally set me free to reclaim my worth. By losing what I thought I wanted, I found what I truly needed, not the acceptance of a family determined to exclude me, but the courage to choose a path built on my own merit. And as I raised my clipboard toward the California sunset, I gave a quiet nod of thanks to that empty seat, the one that had shown me exactly where I belonged.